Jury selection begins tomorrow in the trial of William Porter. He is the first of 6 Baltimore police officers to stand trial in connection with the death of Freddie Gray last April. Porter is charged with second-degree assault, manslaughter, misconduct in office, and reckless endangerment. 5 other officers in the case are also charged separately. The driver of the van, Officer Caesar Goodson Jr., on the far right of that lineup there, faces the most serious charge of second-degree murder. Gray died from a spinal injury he suffered while riding in a police van after being arrested back in the spring, April. Gray's death sparked protests and rioting. So let's discuss now these trials, particularly the one that begins tomorrow. Officer Porter. Joining me right now is criminal defense attorney and constitutional attorney Pate. All right, Paige, so this is very fascinating because we're now going to see 6 separate trials as opposed to one trial involving these 6 officers. To whose advantage is this setup?
Well, I think it's to the advantage of the defense team. In fact, they asked for this. They wanted the trials separated so that the jury could focus on each individual officer and what involvement that officer had in the death. When you bring a bunch of people together and you're trying them in a very serious, high-profile case like this, there's always the chance that there could be some prejudice, some overspill. We really think Freddie Gray's death somebody should be held accountable for it, and we're going to hold them all accountable. This helps the jury focus on each individual officer.
And something else potentially, or maybe answer, does it help the jury and the jury selection that you've got the Judge Barry, who is now ordering that the identities of the jurors, the prospective jurors, be kept secret? And is this in large part because if you have any jurors who come from the area, the neighborhood where Freddie Gray died or sustained his injuries, many people have already said in so much of the reporting we've done and other networks have done that people don't trust the police. They feel intimidated they don't want to be forthright with information. So now identities are being kept secret. Right. Does that assist in selecting jurors who are indeed that of the peers? Well,
the idea is it will help the jury make a fair and unbiased decision at the end of the day. If you're on that jury and you're concerned that, hey, if we acquit this officer and the public responds by protest or they're upset, are they going to direct that at me because they know who I am and I was on the jury that let this officer go? If you protect their identity and the public doesn't know the individual jurors, then I think they'll feel more not relaxed, but at least comfortable that they won't be personally accountable for whatever decision is at the end of the trial. Okay, and so now you're representing Officer William Porter, and he is accused of refusing medical help to Freddie Gray and did not give him a seatbelt, although he was handcuffed and shackled. So if you're the attorney, jury is seated, what is your best defense? How do you defend those allegations? Well, the state has to prove that Officer Porter knew that Freddie Gray was injured and he didn't do anything about it. Some of the good facts for Officer Porter is that he did report what Freddie Gray told him about his injuries, both to the driver and another officer who arrived on the scene. So if I'm representing Officer Porter, I'm going to remind the jury that he didn't keep quiet. He did tell some of the officers.
So that relays some responsibility now to someone else.
Exactly, and that's why the prosecution wanted to try this officer first. They want to use him as a witness against the other officers in these trials that are going to come forward next year. They were hoping, I think, that he would agree to a guilty plea and then agree to testify on behalf of the prosecution. So they're thinking maybe if we can convict him, that he will agree to be a witness for us.
And lastly, real quick, whatever the outcome is, you see it impacting the other 5?
Oh, no question.
No matter what?
I think the first thing is in jury selection, can we get a fair and unbiased jury? If not, are we going to have to move the trial for the other officers? And if we convict Porter, and I think they have the weakest case against Porter, will the other officers plead guilty?
All right, Pate, thanks so much. We'll talk again about this because, again, jury selection tomorrow. Appreciate it. All right, we'll be right back.